To close the season, there's no other way to put it, my man Brandon Ingram was abysmal. And while this might sound like an exaggeration, let me read off some of the numbers for the one-time All-Star. As the Pelicans went on to get swept by the OKC Thunder in the first round, Brandon Ingram would average 14.3 points, 3.3 assists, and 4.5 rebounds. But wait, it gets worse. He would also shoot just 34.5% from the field and just 25% from the three-point line. It was a disappointing series for both Brandon Ingram and the Pelicans, but I felt a lot better about it, factoring in that it was clear that Brandon Ingram wasn't 100% and that Lou Dort was able to get away with guarding my man like this.
Thunder players here with match games 1 and 2.
First time Kenrich Williams has been in this game. Ingram over Dort. Three. What a shot!
Okay, stop it right there. It's cool that Brandon Ingram made the shot, but where in the world is the foul? If Herb Jones got to guard players like this, then the Pelicans might have been hoisting that championship trophy at the end of the season. With Brandon Ingram coming off of one of his worst finishes to a season yet, and the Pelicans having yet to win a single playoff series since both he and Zion arrived in town, the Pelicans would look to do something that they should have been looking to do all along, and that is build around Zion Williamson by any means necessary. The first domino has fallen, with them shocking the league and trading for Dejounte Murray. And we have to talk about that. But first, Underdog Fantasy can make any and every game for any sport feel like the NBA Finals, which is incredibly clutch considering that the NBA season is over and that there is still a ton of tournaments and other sports going on. When you use code COOP, you could get a first-time deposit bonus for up to $250 and a special limited time bonus square, which that might not sound like much, but it does come in clutch when you're trying to 325 times your money, which you can do on Underdog Fantasy. Thank you, Underdog, for coming through and sponsoring today's content. When the Pelicans ended the season on that ugly note that they did, David Griffin vowed that there would be serious change taking place, saying that in the past, we've always erred on the side of continuity, and our takeaway has always been let's see this group healthy. I think we've seen it enough. I think we had some really good opportunity to see Zion play a career high in games. I think that we saw it for segments of time well enough to understand that we've got a lot of work to do, because it's a historically good Western Conference. There are teams that didn't make the playoffs that are going to get radically better this offseason. We need to do the same. I think you'll see a real sense of urgency from all of us to do that. When David Griffin said this, I thought that it was just more of his typical pacifying baloney, but to my surprise, this man would pull off what so far has been the biggest move of the offseason. June 28th, it would be announced that the Pelicans would be trading for Dejounte Murray. When I first saw that this trade went down, I was furious. With Woj and Shams both trying to be first when the trade was announced, all I saw was that the Pelicans would be trading for Dejounte Murray. That's it. I didn't know what was going to be included in the package for him. All I knew was that we were getting Dejounte Murray, who the Atlanta Hawks had paid a hefty fee to get. To acquire Dejounte Murray, the Hawks had to trade Danilo Gallinari, a 2023 protected first-round pick, a 2025 first-round pick, a 2026 pick swap, and a 2027 first-round pick. When Dejounte Murray came to Atlanta, he did not come cheap. With all of the Brandon Ingram trade rumors that have been in circulation, I thought that the Pelicans would either have to give up a ton of first-round picks for a player like Dejounte, or at the very least, BI. Well, thanks to David Griffin and newly promoted Pelicans GM Brandon Graham, magic would happen with this team acquiring the former All-Star and All-Defensive Team member Dejounte Murray for just Larry Nance Jr., Dyson Daniels, a 2025 first-round pick from the Lakers, and the least favorable of their own or the Bucks 2027 first-round pick. Shout out to David Griffin for getting maximum value out of that Lakers pick, because shortly after this trade, it would come out that the Lakers would still be looking to load up, which is something that we have to talk about also. So be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications if you haven't already so that you guys don't miss that. Now, regardless of how much you love or hate Dejounte Murray or how you feel about his fit in New Orleans, there's no denying that this trade is a straight bargain for the New Orleans Pelicans. Dejounte Murray is a problem. Last season, he averaged 22.5 points, 5.3 rebounds, and 6.4 assists while shooting 45.9% from the field and 36.3% from three while taking over 7 threes a game. I'm not crazy about his raw three-point percentage of 36.3, but I am crazy about him shooting 39.2% on catch-and-shoot threes, as that's where a good percentage of his attempts will be coming from thanks to the gravity that Zion Williamson has. I'm also crazy about the fact that he took over 7 threes a game last season. The Pelicans, who shot the ball well, being 4th in the league in three-point percentage at 38.5, were just 1.7 threes away from being dead last in threes attempted per game. The Pelicans needed another volume three-point shooter on the roster, and while I was personally rooting for Trae Young, they got one with Dejounte Murray. In getting Dejounte Murray, they would also get a point guard who is a legit threat on offense. As Brandon Ingram said to close the season, the Pelicans just really could have benefited from having a point guard, another player who could play make and simplify the game for everybody around them. I'm not really a huge fan of CJ facilitating and playmaking out of the one spot. In the final game of the play-in tournament, the Pelicans looked better with Jose Alvarado running the show as opposed to CJ McCollum, and I don't think that's by coincidence. With Jose, the team played faster, was more decisive, and most importantly, got the ball to Zion Williamson. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to have another player added to our roster that could relieve CJ of some of those playmaking duties. CJ does a lot well, but the man is not a point guard. So I'm excited to see what the addition of Dejounte does for this entire team. But one player that I'm especially excited for is Yves Missy, the ultra-fluid and athletic 7-foot big man that the Pelicans just drafted. Good guard play is a young big's best friend. Just look at what Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic were able to do for Derek Lively over there in Dallas. I can already see Dejounte throwing some filthy lobs to Missy. There's really a lot to like with Dejounte. He's a stat sheet stuffer who can score and can absolutely defend when he wants to, which I fully expect him to buy into Willie Green's aggressive defensive scheme. Willie's scheme would give the Pelicans the 6th best defense in the league last season, which really isn't bad when you factor in that this team didn't have a true rim protector. Despite losing Najee Marshall and Dyson Daniels, I fully expect the Pelicans defense to be elite yet again. The Pelicans are long, they're athletic, and they have 2 of the biggest terrors in the league playing passing lanes. Good luck protecting the ball around Herb Jones and Dejounte Murray. The Pelicans can really field a disgusting defense next season. Remember that Zion plays defense now too. To close the season, this man was looking like he might make some all-defensive teams before it's all said and done. Zion's final game of the season in the play-in tournament, the 40 points he scored and his injury would grab headlines, but what impressed me the most was his defense on LeBron James. If Zion doesn't score 40 that game and doesn't slow down LeBron, the Pelicans lose by 40 instead of 4. To close the season, Zion looked unstoppable and like a player that's going to be top 5 sooner as opposed to later, which only makes the Pelicans' addition of Dejounte Murray that much more terrifying. So I love this trade for my Pelicans, but at the same time, I don't hate this trade for the Atlanta Hawks. That Trae Young and Dejounte Murray experiment, that just wasn't working out. It was clearly time for a change. In the Hawks trading Dejounte Murray, they would get their change, they would get their picks, and they would also get Dyson Daniels. No, Dyson Daniels isn't Brandon Ingram, but he is by no means a bad consolation prize. Just 2 years ago, Dyson Daniels was the 10th pick in the NBA draft, and since then, all he's done is impress. Standing at 6'7" with a 6'10.5" wingspan, Dyson Daniels is a combo guard that plays the right way. He's a good passer, he's shown growth finishing around the basket, and what you love most is that he's a monster on the defensive side of the basketball. The Atlanta Hawks had the 4th worst defensive rating in the league last season. Dyson, unlike Dejounte, will be a consistent defender for this Hawks team every single night. When you think of Dyson Daniels, think of Alonzo Ball that hasn't found their shot yet. If he ever finds that shot of his, this trade looks a whole lot better for the Atlanta Hawks. He's only 21, so he has nothing but time. Guys, again, if you are new, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. There's some more NBA news that I need to be covering, so I'm GetLikeCoop, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.